All right, well, it is 10 o'clock, so I guess we can go ahead and get started. Um, so hello and welcome to our first Lunch and Learn series. These Lunch and Learns are a prelude to the symposium, which is titled Weaving the Future, Replicating Education and Workforce Programs in Digital Transformation. The symposium is going to be February 2nd at 2024 at Sinclair. And today's Lunch and Learn is going to focus on the curriculum digital thread. And there's going to be a second Lunch and Learn on February 26th, and that's going to focus on automation and robotics. So just to introduce the digital transformation team at Sinclair, I'm Meredith Rogers. I am a program manager for the DIB STEM grant.
My name is Ryan. I work as a program coordinator, both on the DIB STEM grant and our digital thread initiative.
And I am Elizabeth Generous. I'm a program manager that started with the Digital Thread Initiative almost 31 months ago. And I spend my time partially on this OTN STEM grant also.
So just to talk a little bit about the symposium first, as I mentioned, the symposium is going to be on February 2nd at Sinclair at the Conference Center here in Dayton, Ohio. You can register now and you can attend both in person or virtually. I'm going to quickly pull up the chat and I will put the registration link here, and you can share this link with others as well. And you can register for $100 to attend in person or $10 to virtually attend. Now, the morning of the symposium, we are going to learn about the two curriculum that are available to adopt and replicate. One is from Lorain County Community College in Automation and Robotics, and the other is from Sinclair in Digital Thread and Digital Transformation. We're also going to hear from industry and academic experts about the need for a skilled workforce, both in digital transformation and in automation and robotics. And we're going to then look at, also we have some funding that's available, and we're going to look at the funding structure from DIB STEM and what those funds are for. Now in the afternoon, there's going to be a series of guided workshops, and we're going to explore the replication of this curriculum through those workshops. So as you can see, these workshops are going to provide those who attend with, by the time they leave, a cohesive plan for how to move forward and utilize these curriculum at their institution. So throughout the workshops, those that attend will explore the goals for utilizing this curriculum. They will look at choosing the target populations for the curriculum that they are interested in, and then how they're going to adapt and utilize that curriculum and adopt it once they get back to their institution. They will create a timeline for adopting this curriculum and implementing it, and then also explore choosing the key personnel for implementing the curriculum and to develop it. Now, one of the key pieces for these workshops also is, by going through the workshops, you'll also be provided with the necessary information for the application for the funding to support that curriculum. So the workshops themselves are not only going to inform the curriculum adoption process, but they're also going to inform the funding application. So looking a little bit at the funding itself and the funding structure, up to $30,000 can be requested in DIB STEM funds for the adaptation and the adoption of this different curriculum in digital transformation, digital thread, and automation and robotics. So the breakdown of these funds is up to $5,000 can be requested for curriculum supplies, up to $15,000 for personnel, up to $5,000 for contracted services, up to $3,000 in travel, and up to $500 in credential assessments. So again, attendance at these workshops is going to help give information to prepare those who want to then submit a funding proposal. Now, the timeline for the funding, the symposium's on February 2nd. Applications for funding are due on March 1st, but they will be reviewed on a rolling basis, with March 1st being first consideration. The awards will be given out and the contracts awarded by May 1st, and the funding period ends May 31st, which is in alignment with reporting dates for on our contracts. Now, regular reporting is going to be required for funding. So those guidelines will be given out, and the metrics and the due dates for those reports for those that are given these funding awards. So we're talking about replication, and we've talked a little bit about this at one of the think tank meetings, but I do want to spend a minute to explain what does replication actually mean. So with replication, it means adapting and utilizing these curriculum in automation and robotics and digital transformation and digital thread in a manner that makes sense to the institution within their current ecosystem. So what we have are these existing curriculums, and they have their current state that they're in, that they're currently being utilized. Now, an institution can take these curriculum as they are and utilize them in their current state, but that may not also make sense for the institution. So that's a lot of what these workshops are doing, is helping to explore how can you adapt and utilize these curriculum in a way that makes sense. So this can be taking the whole piece of curriculum and adapting it. So maybe taking the certificate program, but adapting the certificate to better fit your institution. It can also be taking the pieces of the curriculum that make sense for your institution and utilizing it in a way that makes better sense for your needs. So this could mean taking those pieces and creating a different certificate program from maybe an associate's degree, and just taking those pieces and turning it into a certificate, or maybe taking it and turning it into college credit plus coursework. It could also mean taking pieces and using it for things like workforce development workshops. These could be single topic workforce development workshops, or maybe even a survey workshop. You can also develop teacher training, so utilizing the curriculum to train instructors who are then going to teach this curriculum. And you can also use it for credentialing. So when we're talking about program replication, it's not a strict, rigid utilizing this curriculum only in the way it's currently being used. It's really modular in the sense that you can take what's being used now and using it in a way that best suits the institution.
All right. Thank you so much, Meredith, for the overview on the symposium and how we're thinking about replication. We're going to move on to digital thread and digital transformation, which is Sinclair's offering for the DIB STEM project. So I'm going to invite you to start thinking about what digital thread means. Imagine that you're building a complex machine like a car. Each part of the car that you're building, from the smallest screw to the biggest engine, has a story. Where it came from, how was it made, who made it, who tested it, how was it tested, how was it all assembled into the car, evaluating those various steps in the development of that material. Now imagine there's a digital record for each one of these interactions that I just mentioned. Imagine that information updates in real time as the part moves throughout its life cycle. That's what we're calling the digital thread. The digital thread is the system that enables all this information to be captured, stored, and accessed. While certain industries may need detail down to the minutia, for example, aerospace and defense, or this car example we're talking about, others may need less details depending on their business context. But in either case, the digital thread supports digital transformation by focusing on isolating that information that helps drive business decision-making. So our definition of the digital thread here, the digital thread is a data-driven architecture that connects the digital footprints of a product through its lifecycle. If you notice this graphic here too, an important thing about digital thread is it's not just a linear process. Data flows both ways. So different parts of the product development process inform other parts. So we create a closed feedback loop of data that helps drive our business decision making. Like the simplest execution of digital thread, we're often thinking about it in industrial contexts. So one of the simplest combinations that we can think of digital thread is the combination of sensors or scanners, software, including project lifecycle management software, manufacturing execution system software, and enterprise resource planning software. Sometimes, as I mentioned, it kind of depends on the business's like unique business case, and maybe they need more complicated things than just out of the box software. So that's where more advanced data models and architecture comes in to look at how we can integrate different systems more effectively. And we also have human evaluation, which is a huge part in our curriculum as well, ensuring as we're talking about digitization and automation that we're not losing sight of the human ingenuity that's required to still make sound business decisions. We really do believe humans are still at the core of digital thread processes, and having a well-trained workforce and understanding of all of the different components and business verticals that digital thread touches is a really important place to focus. Going to it as well, like as we automate more things, this opens up opportunities for jobs with higher level thinking and cognitive processing within the industrial space. So moving on to this is a very high level, non-exhaustive list of some type of data that we would be collecting in a digital thread, just to give an example. So as I mentioned, we're looking across different parts of the product life cycle of various products. So through design, manufacturing, testing, delivery, and usage. Thinking about design, what type of data are we producing in design? Usually we're working in CAD. We're in a place where people rarely do hand-drawn drawings anymore, but computer-aided design is pretty much the standard, but it's all digital. So we need places to store that information. Most CAD and product data will be stored in our product lifecycle management system. That really is where all of our product data sits to inform future manufacturing. And when we're talking about manufacturing data, going back to, as I was saying, with sensors, we could be putting IoT devices on our machines, measuring things like overall equipment effectiveness, the uptime of machines. We could also think about manufacturing data in the context of QA testing and making sure that our materials and products are meeting standards. And this type of data is usually stored in a manufacturing execution system. Moving on to logistics and delivery, we could be thinking about things like inventory, sales, material procurement, all things that would traditionally be stored in an ERP system. And moving on to usage. So going back to that smart car example that we started this with, imagine that as a car is driving, it's equipped with sensors that can tell the company how that device is being used and give real world data to be able to continue to inform the future design process. As I mentioned, PLM, MES, and ERP, the sticking point of digital thread is how we integrate these systems to make sure that we're not just having isolated systems that are being fed unique data, that we have single sources of truth in which the systems can communicate with each other to make sure that updates in one inform updates in others. So why does the digital thread matter? I think firstly, things like rapid prototyping and continuous improvement and like general business practices that are focused in digital transformation and digital thread allow us to test hypotheses quickly and inexpensively. We're also able to focus on sustainable development and understanding how much waste we're producing using the data that we're given through maybe our manufacturing execution system, and understanding how we can optimize for waste reduction. We can also reduce development time through things like rapid prototyping and be able to test those assumptions quickly. And ultimately, it's about delivering more quality, safety, and value to the end user. As I mentioned, digital thread is a concept that is talked about a lot in defense and aerospace and related contracting, but really its implications stretch across a multitude of different fields, and it's something that even outside of industrialism, companies are struggling to understand how to integrate their systems. So we've talked a lot about digital thread, but we've also mentioned digital transformation. So let's discuss a little bit how these terms interact with each other. Digital thread fits under the digital transformation umbrella, kind of as the central connector of all the data and processes that we build through digital transformation. So digital thread is kind of the backbone in which supports broader digital transformation process. And how we decided to frame the curriculum that we're offering as part of the DIB STEM program is we want to be able to show how the digital thread works by evaluating business cases of digital transformation. So looking at where these gaps are and how the digital thread can support broader digital transformation efforts, really framing around this core idea that like we have the ability to collect all kinds of different data, but how can we centralize it and use it to inform our decision making broadly as we're exploring business endeavors. So I'll pass it back over to Meredith.
Thanks, Ryan. So Ryan's given a really good idea of what digital transformation is. And what we're seeing is digital transformation is really impacting workforce. And we have some data here from Rockwell Automation. And one of the pieces of data is that what they saw when they did a survey of different industries is they came back with 48% of manufacturers expect to grow employment as a result of technology adaptation. And then building on that, one of the questions they asked was about the skill in their workforce. And 46% of manufacturers said that they lack a skilled workforce to outpace their competition over the next 12 months. And when they asked the question, what is the, my organization lacks the blank to outpace the competition over the next year, the two biggest things they came back with was that they lacked training current employees on updated processes and getting all employees or departments to effectively use new technologies and processes. So this is where having that skilled workforce in digital transformation and really understanding these concepts is important. Coming down into Ohio, I 4.0 and digital transformation has been a huge focus. So JP Nassif, the Jobs Ohio president and CEO, one of his quotes is, "Ohio is a center for I 4.0, and that creates a rewarding career opportunities that should be a magnet for talent across the state and our nation." And this shows in the numbers from Ohio. So Ohio has the third largest manufacturing workforce, and we are the fourth largest manufacturing GDP of any state. So pulling this into careers, as we kind of looked earlier, the concept of digital thread is integral into the broader umbrella of digital transformation. So digital thread serves as this web that connects data seamlessly across an industry. So by creating this interwoven process, it involves multiple roles that collaborate synergistically, and that facilitates the movement and the utilization of data within the digital thread. So digital thread encompasses a number of key areas. So this includes product development, advanced manufacturing, supply chain and logistics, data management and integration, sales and customer service, defense contracting, and cybersecurity. So you have all of these jobs that need to work together. So in practical terms, you have all of these individuals that are in diverse roles, but they all benefit from having a holistic understanding of digital transformation and digital thread, extending beyond the confines of just their specialties. So a broader perspective allows them to more seamlessly integrate and fully leverage the capabilities of the digital thread. And that creates a more unified and a more efficient operational landscape in their industry. So what are we offering? So at Sinclair, under the DIB STEM, we've created digital transformation curriculum. And what we've created is 15 weeks of content. And the curriculum itself is modular. So the content in the course can be utilized as a complete 15-week course. And we've created the content in a way that it could be utilized up to a 3-credit course. However, each module within the course can also be utilized as a standalone module. So we've created that with that in mind, that it doesn't necessarily have to be used as a cohesive course, that it is very modular. So within the context of the course, we also follow the digital thread of a hypothetical product throughout its life cycle, and we follow that through the entire 15 weeks of content within the course. Other things that we do in this course, we have case studies, and these case studies are looking at real world problems, and we've pulled those into the case studies. So students can actually make connections between the curriculum and what's actually going on in the real world around them. We've also created hands-on activities. And these hands-on activities are throughout the entire 15 modules in the entire curriculum. And these hands-on activities may utilize equipment that some institutions may have or may have the ability to purchase. But we've also kept in mind that some institutions may not have the funds to purchase certain types of equipment. So we've also created activities that are low barrier, that have low to no cost. So this could include using open source software or using low to no cost materials. Each of our lessons also have a lesson plan. So there's teacher plans for each of the lessons that are included with our curriculum. So this is a course outline of the curriculum. So as you can see, this is a survey course in digital transformation that touches on a lot of the things that Ryan talked about previously. So just to quickly go through the modules so you get an idea of the breadth of the course, we start out with what is digital transformation, and then we go into an introduction about PLM, problem solving with rapid prototyping, data-driven manufacturing, data acquisition and management in digital thread supply chain logistics, industrial data preparation and management, data analysis, visualization, and reporting for I4.0, communicating I4.0 insights with data, digital twin technology, cybersecurity with digital thread, regulatory compliance and standards in I4.0, human factors and change management with digital transformation, human factors and change management with digital transformation, and then the projects. So what we're really looking at is, as we said, a survey course with 15 different modules. Now, within this, as we said, this is a modular course. So you could take this course in its entirety and utilize it as a full course, or you can pull pieces out of this because we've created each of these modules with the intent that if you wanted, you could use them individually. So you could take, for example, modules 7, 8, and 9 that are all about data and perhaps insert that into an existing course and utilize just those pieces. You could also, for example, maybe take module 10, digital twin technology, and create a workforce development workshop. So there's different ways to utilize this course in different ways. You can also pull activities out and use just the activities, or even perhaps that capstone project at the end and utilize just those capstone projects. And kind of going back to what we talked about before, this just explains a little bit more about what we talked about with the course adoption. One of the things I haven't mentioned yet is the teacher training. Again, you can utilize the teacher training, the modules as teacher training, again, using the course as a whole or different pieces for teacher training by helping teachers learn about these topics before they then themselves have to teach about it. Now, at the symposium, we are going to have some example lessons to preview so that you can get a better sense as to what this curriculum looks like and what will be included in it. So that will be available at the symposium on February 2nd. And then there is funding available through DIB STEM, that $30,000 that you can apply for to replicate this curriculum. Now, because digital transformation, as you've seen, as what Ryan explained, this is such a broad area, and there's a lot of different areas that fall underneath of it. We've listed some areas of alignment that fall with digital transformation. So if there are pieces of this curriculum that may be interesting to you, or maybe you know of some faculty that may be interested in this curriculum, we've put some areas here underneath that some faculty may be interested in. And if you yourself are interested or may know somebody, please feel free to share either this recording or the symposium link to sign up, or information as well, if you know someone that might be interested in this. And Dr. Hartman, I did see your question underneath. Let me pull up the chat real quick and I'll see if I can answer your question real quick, Dr. Hartman. So we are developing these activities. And Ryan, did you want to speak a little bit about some of the activities?
Yeah, I'll give 2 examples, Dr. Hartman, of how we're using low cost activities to give a wide exposure to some of these hands-on skills. So for example, we have a module on rapid prototyping. CAD is obviously a huge part of that, and we're building out, as you're probably aware, Tinkercad is a open source free CAD software that people can use to understand the basics of CAD before upgrading to something like Inventor. So we're building activities that basically anyone with a web browser can access. But if there is, like, if your school does have a computer lab with CAD software that students can go in and use, we would have options to be able to use, the upper level softwares, but basically keeping it modular in the sense where the barrier to entry is very low. But if you have more advanced software, it's something that could be adapted to use that as well. Another example is using Google Data Studio, for example, in our data visualization modules. Another free software for Google users to be able to practice doing BI and business intelligence, keeping barrier very low to entry. But obviously, there's things like Tableau that are a little bit more robust, that if schools do have access to that software materials, the same kind of thought. So low barrier to entry, ability to expand if schools have the resources to do so. We're also looking into this with RFID. We have an RFID lab at Sinclair, and we've built some activities around this, but there is also some lower barrier to entry software and technology that we're investigating to the same logic, be able to reduce that barrier of entry. Did that give a good overview? Cool, awesome.
Yeah, thanks for
And
the
if anyone
question.
else has any questions, we're going to have a little bit of time at the end, so feel free.
Yep. Yeah, please feel free to ask any questions. Okay, right. I think we're next slide. Okay, one last thing I did want to talk a little bit about is Sinclair actually has quite a bit of momentum in the field of digital thread and digital transformation. And there's been a lot of innovation happening here and really pushing the cutting edge with industry and academia and government partnerships. So one example that I did want to show you was a short-term certificate program for digital thread at Sinclair that was developed under a different initiative. And the faculty at Sinclair have been wonderfully supportive of both that initiative and ours as well. Unfortunately, this certificate program, because it was developed under a different initiative, isn't available for the funding support through DBI STEM. However, I did want to just highlight the continuing work that's going on at Sinclair in digital transformation and in digital thread. And there's a lot more that's coming at Sinclair. So just to wrap up, the symposium is on February 2nd, 2024. Registration is now open, and Ryan just popped the link again in the chat. The registration fee is $100 for in-person, $10 for virtual. You can use your DIB STEM funds to register to attend. And if you have any questions about the symposium or anything else, and we do have some time here at the end to answer any questions you have. And at the end of this, Ryan, if you'll flip one more, we have our contact information. We have both my information. I am the program manager for, oh, and Peter just put up in chat as well. I'm the program manager for DIB STEM at Sinclair, and Elizabeth's information is down here as well. And again, please feel free to share the link for the symposium, the recording for this Lunch and Learn, and there'll be the other Lunch and Learn for Automation and Robotics next Friday from Lorraine. You can share those recordings as well with anyone who you feel might be interested. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer anything. And thank you for everyone who has attended.
Go ahead, Kathy. Thank you for raising your hand.
Trying to be polite.
Appreciate you.
Catherine Kelly, I'm Executive Director of the Ohio Manufacturing Institute at Ohio State. I want to say this is fantastic, just an incredible work, being able to translate some of the very expansive and confusing aspects about Industry 4.0 into a program. So kudos to you for being able to do this in such short order. I don't have a question. I have more of maybe some helpful items that could work. We did a faculty member and I did a lot of work that was funded by NIST Manufacturing Extension Partnership on digital transformation for manufacturers. And before that, what we said tongue in cheek was manufacturing 5.0 to try to make sense of all the consultants were trying to influence the manufacturers to buy that may not necessarily work in terms of developing a systems and a systems integrated approach, which is what I see here with the digital thread approach you're taking. So I'm going to send them to you or throw them on chat, but I just wanted to say great job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. It was very intentional and something that I love that you mentioned consulting too, because unfortunately I in research have seen that as well, of like consultants pushing solutions instead of focusing on the core business problems. And in our curriculum as well, I mean, we do talk about things like lean and like how to streamline processes prior to automating. And, we don't want to just throw technology at a problem and expect it to be fixed. So appreciate you calling that out. It was very intentional and would love any support and partnership moving forward.
Well, and as you know, I mean, even with the technology, it does all boil down to humans and actually we even tried to distinguish this type of lean from the earlier versions to make it, for lack of a better word, more sexy. So we called it, next lean. We actually talked with the oh gosh, I've already forgotten the name of the institute in the Northeast that focuses on Six Sigma Lean or focuses on lean. Is it called the something Lean Institute? I can't remember. Fridays when all my language goes away, but in any case, thank you again.
Yeah, appreciate you, Catherine.
Can I just say something to the symposium in a few weeks? I really want to encourage those on the call, the sub-award partners on this project. I realize we have a mix of faculty, workforce folks, others who are involved with this project, and it's maybe not always feasible, for a faculty person to make the trip in person. I strongly encourage you all to share the recording of this that will be released later today, or early next week, with your colleagues in curriculum development, program management, faculty if they have the availability. You yourselves are not all responsible for attending these workshops or doing this replication work. I also realize that it's we're in Lorraine County. It's a bit of a hike to get down to Sinclair. I think there is a remote option for attendance at the symposium, but I think after almost 4 years of Zoom and Teams and WebEx calls, we can all probably agree that in person really is the most productive. So I will be down. Another of my colleagues from LCCC will be there to present on our automation robotics curriculum. So I just want to strongly encourage folks to, if possible, attend yourselves or share with your colleagues. And yes, please use your subawards. Everybody is behind spend, so this would be a good way to use up some of those funds.
Thanks, Peter. Any other thoughts or questions? Any points of confusion we can clarify?
And if you think of anything after you leave this meeting, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Elizabeth. Her information is up there as well. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the symposium or the curriculum itself as well.
Friday early wrap
Okay.
up.
Yeah,
that's not
so
too
I'll
bad.
hang around for a second, but thank you so much for everyone for coming. And hopefully we'll see you on February 2nd.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.